This is an exercise video that if you follow along with, you will end up at the end with a page that looks somewhat like this, with lines, with some frames, and with some boxes. What you're going to need to get going on this is some plain white paper and then also a simple ballpoint pen. All right, now the goal here is to practice sketching for at least 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes is a great number. We'll basically do that here. We want to make a page full of lines. And what we're doing here is we're trying to make confident lines. So we have two dots, a dot that we're starting at and a dot that we're going toward. And we're just going to make lines for 2 minutes. Medium-sized lines, short lines, long lines. We want to practice all kinds of lines. We just want to do that. Dot, dot, line. Dot, dot, line. As you're doing this, look to the second dot, the one you're headed to, while you're drawing the line. You just want to keep doing this for 2 minutes. Drawing lines. Now, one of the tricks anytime you're sketching is that you need to be forgiving. You need to be okay with drawing some pretty crummy stuff. And that doesn't mean you're not going to try. You're going to try hard. You're going to try actually to get that line to land on the second dot. But when it doesn't, you don't get too frustrated and you don't spend too much time trying to go really slow so that you land right at the dot. Now, one of the tricks here is that as engineering designers, we don't want to just draw any line. We want to draw particular lines. Lines from one particular spot to another particular spot. That's why we're doing the dot, dot, line method for 2 minutes. We have a number of sketching exercises, but every couple of days you should be doing this line exercise. So this is our line exercises. It's good to do. I know lots of people who do this professionally and do this every day, and those who do are actually really quite good at it. All right, so that's first part of the exercise. The next part of the exercise is that we want to draw some frames. And this is going to allow us to draw parallel lines and both vertical and horizontal lines. So we're going to draw 4 frames. The first frame that we're going to draw is going to look like this. The next one we're going to draw is going to be approximately half as long and twice as tall. Then we're going to do that again, half as long, twice as tall. And this is allowing me to not just make any random lines, but to really think about the kinds of lines that I want to do. So in this exercise, you should be doing the same thing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to draw a wall thickness inside of here. So we're going to draw 2 points where we want to draw a line, and then we're going to connect those dots. We're going to do that for each of the frames that we have here. This is, as I said, going to help us create deliberate sketches. Not just any lines, not just any boxes, but lines and boxes that mean things. Now, we need to be careful to not get too anxious about our drawing and our sketching. We want to learn to become comfortable with it, and this means making some mistakes like I just did on that long line that needed to be drawn. You can see it's not really a constant wall thickness. I tend to have trouble with long lines, keeping them straight. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm cross-hatching the thickness of the frame. Now I'm doing this to try to make it clear that this is material versus open air. It's a common practice in engineering design sketches to do this kind of thing, to indicate that this is material, as opposed to this is no material. So I've chosen a hatch that's 45 degrees. I'm being careful and deliberate. I'm trying to make sure that my hatch goes all the way from the edge to all the way to the inside edge of the frame. And you can see as we're starting to draw this that it's, this hatch alone is just giving us, starting to make the part feel real. So you should be making these same hatches in your drawing. Now I'm a little bit frustrated working on this one here because I know the wall thickness on the right side is messed up, so it's bothering me a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the hatch line to where the thickness should have been. I'm going to try to draw another line on top of it right afterwards. We'll see if I can feel comfortable with that. Of course, you need to rotate the paper from time to time to get yourself a good line, and that's one of the things I did there. Okay, so that was our second activity. This is the frames activity. It's teaching us horizontal and vertical lines, helping us practice. It's helping us draw parallel lines, and then helping us do the hatching. And of course, the hatching is a great parallel activity as well. So in this one, what we want to do for our last activity on lines is we want to draw 3 cubes. We're going to draw 3 cubes using 3 different methods. This first method is the oblique method. And in the oblique method, we start with a box or a square that's got 90-degree corners everywhere. And then we draw lines out behind it, parallel lines to each other, and connect them. So it's the oblique method. It's the easiest method, but it doesn't represent reality very well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to draw, oops, I was starting to make a perspective there. What I want to do is make not the perspective view, but the isometric view. What's happening with the isometric view now is I'm drawing parallel lines, but these parallel lines are skewed. They're kind of off at an angle, usually about 30 degrees on this left side. 30 degrees off the horizon is about normal for an isometric view. All right, so now all these lines that I've drawn that are across from each other are parallel, or at least supposed to be parallel, and this is our isometric view. When you work in a CAD system, the CAD system often produces an isometric view. The third view that we want to make and practice making, and you should be practicing these same things right now, is the perspective view. Now the perspective view is very similar to the isometric view, except lines that are across from each other are slightly off from parallel. They tilt inward and converge at what is called the vanishing point, which is sometimes off the paper, or it's at least back far behind the part. All right, so this is the 3 cubes that we want to make. It's helping us when we do this to think about the different methods and also to be deliberate about whether we're trying to make parallel lines or lines that are slightly skewed from each other. So this one is the perspective view. All right, so now to give this just a little bit more depth, we're going to put some shadows on this. Now to draw a shadow on a cube that's sitting on the ground, you draw some lines that look like this. And then we're going to take those lines and we're just going to crosshatch them. Of course, this is going to give us more practice on the parallel lines. And it's going to give, as I said, some dimension to that part. Now what you should be doing is doing this exercise right now. I would guess that you could use this video again and again as a way to keep your timing down right while you're spending about 10 minutes a day sketching. Now you don't need to do the lines exercise every day. You can do the lines exercise and then the circles exercise and then some of the other exercises that we have, just as you would if you were doing a physical workout, switching it around. All right, so as I'm doing my hatches, I'm trying to start all the way on the edge of the shadow and go all the way down to the other edge of the shadow without leaving a gap. Now in some cases I am leaving a gap, but I'm gonna forgive myself for not having that be exactly right, and that line is off. Okay, I want that actually to be parallel with the other parallel lines going back. So that's all right. I just draw a new line. And now as I hatch over it, the line that I made as a mistake will fade a bit into the background, and that will be that. So that's basically the 10-minute sketching exercise that we should do. You, me, people who sketch all the time do these kinds of exercises as a way of building up their skills. Now, I think what I want to do here is just darken up these edges just a little bit. I'm kind of evaluating what my sketch looks like, and I'm saying, does it look any good? And I have a lot of these construction lines kind of going off in all places, but if I darken up the edges, those construction lines will kind of go away a little bit as my eye thinks more about the heavy line. Of course, I'm rotating the paper around to make this easier for me. All right, so I'm going to darken up this perspective view, and after I've darkened this one up, I think that I'm going to put just a little bit of shading on here, just for fun. Okay, this isn't necessarily part of what I'm thinking for this 10-minute exercise, but nevertheless, I think it's worth just showing how you can get it to pop off the page even just a little bit more. So I'm going to just take a simple pen that's made for shading. I'm going to get right in there, and I'm just going to shade that surface. Now I can tell that my top line's kind of wiggly, so I want to actually fix that and straighten it up just a bit. Okay. Now I can take a pencil, and this pencil is just a simple gray pencil. I can shade this other surface. I need to shade that other surface because otherwise I have two surfaces that are the same exact color, which is not how the product would look with a single light source kind of off to the left. Anyway, that's how you would shade that. Now I'm feeling like I just want to make this really pop off the page. So to pop off the page, I'm just going to use this Sharpie right around the edges, just the edge, not any of the inside lines, just the edge. And what this is going to do is it's really just going to make that part stick off the page. All right, so you ought to be trying these same things. Watch this video again if you weren't practicing this time. Watch it again. Try to create these same kinds of things. So those were our three activities. We had the lines, and we had the frames, and then we had the cubes.